Hello, I'm Anthony, and I get to say for the first time in a very long time, Back on Track with. The Back on Track series was really how I began my channel. About 50% of the content that I used to make was videos about songwriting, and I actually think songwriting is the most important part of the entire thing. It's actually been a very long time since I've made a video just about a song that I'm writing, but that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to talk to you about this song, I Danced Alone. I released a video last week where I did a little bit of behind the scenes comping work on the vocals. I'll put a link to that above. It was a wonderful session. My wife Pauline does all of the singing on my songs, and we had a really good time. It was a great day, and the finished performance that I've gleaned from that session, I'm really, really pleased with. Pauline can be very proud of it. I'm not actually going to play the entire song today. I'll release that in a subsequent video a little bit later. I'm just in the final process of mixing it at the moment. Today I want to concentrate more on the songwriting process, how this thing came together. I think it's pretty important though, even though we're not going to listen to the entire song, just to have a little snippet of it to give you a flavour of what's going on. I'll jump forwards to the beginning of the verse and I'll just play the first half of the first verse. Here we go.
The sun goes on and counts in time and begs me just for once, toe the line. I skip the beat and miss the rhyme, avoiding their eyes.
So what we've got drums. There's never that much interesting for me to talk about with the drums, particularly when I use kind of a more traditional drum sound like this, because I don't compose the drum rhythms myself. I take them from the likes of Groove Agent or Contact. And when I'm writing songs like this, they're actually the least interesting part of the entire song to me. I just need them to be functional, hold everything together. And I get most of my kicks from either playing the live instruments. All of the bass and guitars on this song are live, or writing the lyrics and getting the vocals sung. Having said all of that, here's the drums. As you can tell, really, really straightforward. One of my favourite drum rhythms of all time is Streets of Philadelphia by Bruce Springsteen, and whenever I'm writing one of these kind of pared down pieces of music, I always think about the absolutely beautiful simplicity of that song. If you've never seen the video for Streets of Philadelphia, after you've watched this video, do a search for it. It is absolutely unbelievable. And as far as I'm aware, he actually sings that performance live in the video. The performance that you see, he's got a hidden microphone and he sings the song as he walks through the streets. Unbelievable. But it's got a really, really simple drum rhythm. And when I listen to this one, it reminds me very much of that kind of really simple kind of bedrock. There's nothing fancy going on at all. When we get into the chorus, we've got more hats. But it is extremely simple, and that was by design. I'm going to bring the bass in over the top now. So this was played live. It was recorded over various sessions, and I've comped it together, but essentially everything that you're hearing is really straightforward. I do occasionally put little flowery bits in. Let's see if I can find a flowery bit. Nothing spectacular, I'm no Billy Sheehan, but I do like doing those little articulations every now and again. When the rest of the song's driving forwards and your mind's being taken off the bass, those little things popping in the background do suffice to kind of just add a little bit of interest and kind of catch your ear and go, oh, that was interesting. Let's listen to that in the context of the rest of the song. Oh, this is the solo. I like this solo. It's effectively a repeated pattern. What I've just played there, I'm essentially going to repeat again, but because it's all played live, I get to put like different emphasis on it. And I do a triple pitch bend. I really like, again, it doesn't have to be technically complex to be pleasing. I think this is quite nice. So this is the same refrain. And there, just that little three pulse pitch bend thing just adds that extra little bit of colour, and it's a solo that, like I say, I'm quite pleased with and quite proud of. I don't try to do anything technically fancy. That little rundown that you heard on the bass is about as fancy as I try to be on live instruments these days. It's much more about trying to play it to the very best of my ability, make every note sound as good as I possibly can. And I am not interested in how many notes per minute get played. That's never really been a thing I've been bothered about anyway. Ironic, since I play a Joe Satriani signature guitar, one of the fastest notes per minute guitarists you'll ever hear, but I play it because it's a beautiful guitar that's very easy to play. Now let's have a listen to this guitar backing. So there's two different sections to the backing, and really this is almost the entire kind of melodic content of the song. It's incredibly simple. There are no keyboards whatsoever in this piece of music. I deliberately wanted to have the vocals front dead center, and so any guitar work that's going on in the background basically needs to get out of the way. Any music that isn't the vocals needs to get out of the way when Pauline's singing. So we've got two different guitar lines, and they're both very straightforward. Let's have a listen to each of them in turn. This is the first one. It couldn't really be simpler. It's actually very quiet at this section of the song. I'll just turn it up a bit. It's just doing nothing. The second one is where the majority of the melodic content comes from. And that's it. That's basically all of the music that isn't bass or drums in this song. Let's be careful with my volumes. Let's bring everything back in. First guitar line that I played is more interesting in the chorus. It's where those strike chords are coming from. Now then, one production thing I wanted to talk about was how do I get the music out of the way when Pauline's singing. There's a couple of ducking examples I can show you in this song. Let's pull my mixer up. A convention that I've established recently is that if I have tracks that are performing ducking, I make sure that the inserts that are doing that job are really visibly obvious. Just in case you don't know, ducking is the process whereby you use the compressor coming out of one track, in this case the vocals, to make quieter, to suppress or duck a track somewhere else in the song. So what you can see in these two plugin instances that are nowhere near any of the other plugins, these are compressors that are being fed by the vocal track. Let's just have a quick look at the compressor itself. I always use Pro C if I'm doing ducking. It does the job perfectly. I don't need another compressor to do this job. I'm going to use Pro C every time. You put it in external mode and then have it listen for an incoming audio source. So it's called a sidechain. Here it is. The sidechaining routing comes from the main vocals. Basically, whenever Pauline is singing, whatever's on this track, the track with the compressor, is going to get quieter. And so her vocals basically just kind of stand out. Now, you need to be careful with your ratios and your attack to make sure that the transitions from quiet to loud and back again, or the other way around, are done smoothly and not kind of, you don't want to get a pumping effect. I'm not trying to write EDM music here, but we just want to gently get them out of the way. And they're being used in two different situations. One is actually on the vocal itself, the vocal delay. So the idea here is that when Pauline is actually singing, you don't want a big washy delay with all of these repeats kind of falling over themselves. But every time she takes a pause or stops singing, I want to let the delay bloom. And that's what this ducker over here is doing. And this ducker, being very careful to pronounce that, is actually pulling the guitar level down. So it's on the guitar master track. Everything, which is, as you've seen, the majority of the music, is being suppressed just a little bit. Now this compressor over here is much more gentle. We have a gentler ratio, a higher threshold. It's doing less work, but I should be able to show you a reasonably good illustration of what's going on here. If I get somewhere in the song running where there's both vocals and guitars, let's just cycle this section over here because it's as good as any. Get the song running.
But on the far side of nowhere, where the stars
Now you can see it's only a couple of dB. I might actually want to turn this up when I'm finishing my mixing. If I make this more dramatic, there we go. So when Pauline is singing, the guitars get quieter. Now, by making that much more dramatic, I've made it too much. You know, the music is now pumping, but it's just pulling down a couple of dB, maybe 1 or 2 dB of volume from the entire guitar track every time that Pauline makes a sound.
side of nowhere, where the stars learn to shine. I'll sing a song if you let me try.
Something like that. That might be
But on the
a better setting. I've just turned it up a little bit there. Can you hear how much delay there is? That vocal delay is absolutely colossal. But you only ever hear that when she's not singing, so it fills all of that space. Let's see that in action. It's really cool. Vocal ducking on delay is a really nice effect. So I've basically just soloed the vocals, and now I'm going to let it run past the end of where she sings.
wall,
And when Pauline's singing,
and then we might
there's very little
dance together.
delay. But when she stops,
After all,
then that delay just gets to fill in that space. See how non-dramatic, how non-invasive it is when it's done properly. Now with these vocal delay ducks, you want a much more brutal compressor. This has got a very low threshold with a very high ratio. What that effectively means is that when the vocalist is singing, the compressor is just absolutely clamping down on this delay, and almost no delay gets to the outside world. And then the moment she stops, the moment she breathes, everything comes back and you get to hear the sound. Just watch how violent this compression is.
I'd like to tear down the wall, and then we might dance together after all.
Let's do that one more time. This time when it gets to the end, watch as it's clamped down, where whatever it is, -9, -10 dB. When she stops, there's an upslope. What you're basically seeing there is the compressor let go. That's the release of the compressor, just letting the delay come back through, and then the signal can escape. At this point, the signal's already hit the delay. Another really important point of ducking is to make sure that the effect itself, the delay unit, comes before the compressor that's ducking it out. You need the audio to get into the delay, and the delay is sending its full signal into the compressor. It's up to the compressor to decide whether or not to let that signal onto the outside world.
Together after all.
And there, that's the release, which, as you can see, I've got set to about 50 milliseconds. Just allows the voice to get out of the way, and then we kind of get this blooming effect. Really nice effect. When compared with some of the other songs that I've written, this is one of the simpler, and I'm pleased with that. I'm really happy that I didn't overcomplicate it, didn't throw the kitchen sink at it, just allowed myself the tiny little bit of kind of embellishment at the end, where I've asked Pauline to sing 3 copies of the coda. This is not harmonized. These are literally 3 identical copies of the same sung vocal. Let's have a listen to this.
Found a new way after all.
One of them central, each of the others panned.
Found a new way
Just thickens up that sound.
after all. After all.
And that's basically the end of the song. We're going to go to fade out. I'm really pleased with this song. I think it's come out really well. As always, Pauline's just knocked it out the park. She's an amazing singer, and I'm incredibly lucky to be married to such a vocalist. So thanks very much to her. I'll have the final version of the song mixed and released in the next couple of days. Look out for that. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit like if you did. I'll see you next time. Thanks very much.